I do now want to read a statement from White House spokesman Ian Sams. He did say this after Kevin McCarthy made the impeachment inquiry announcement last week. House Republicans have been investigating the president for 9 months, and they've turned up no evidence of wrongdoing. His own GOP members have said so. He vowed to hold a vote to open impeachment. Now he flip-flopped because he doesn't have support. Extreme politics at its worst. Do you think that this impeachment inquiry is political?
I would say that the statement from the White House has one problem. None of it is true. They've turned up actually quite a lot of evidence. There are people who've met with President Biden when he was vice president, so forth, involving his children's business. None of those people, by the way, were called before David Weiss's grand jury. There's a lot of evidence. There are really two big issues. One is Hunter Biden's obvious corruption. He had nothing to sell except his connection to his father. And remember, his father calls in all the time whenever he's at a business meeting and wants a call to prove he's connected. These people had countless meetings at the White House when Joe Biden was vice president. We don't know how many meetings they had at other locations because records were not kept on that. But all of this, the problem is for Republicans, can you link any of that to Joe Biden's corruption? Joe Biden himself is Hunter's corruption, Joe Biden's corruption. And then the second issue is what looks to me like fairly obvious, at the least foot dragging and at the most cover up by the Department of Justice, David Weiss. They let all kinds of major felony indictments expire through the statute of limitations. They've given us no explanation of why that was allowed to happen. We know that one person in Weiss's office tipped off the people in Hunter's team that they were about to do a raid on a place where he had stored boxes. And of course, the boxes had disappeared the next day when the raid was done. They also were tipped off about who was going to be asked to give statements. All those people disappeared. There's just a lot of evidence of what looks like worse than incompetence and worse than foot dragging, but absolute efforts to stop any investigative process that might lead to Joe Biden. That should never happen in our Department of Justice. And then we heard this week the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, essentially deflect all questions related to these very serious subjects. And that's one of the reasons, going back to your previous question, Brittany, about why you might want to have an impeachment inquiry. He will have to answer those questions or be held in contempt by Congress.
Kevin McCarthy did, though, flip-flop. He did say he was going to hold a vote. He then announced the impeachment inquiry. Was this just to appease those further right Republicans, do you think? And this investigation, to the White House's point, has been going on for months now. So when will that smoking gun appear?
Well, so far, I would say that there have been a lot of ties, but nothing that looks like it's absolutely definitive. I would say, let me reverse a little bit the way that you frame the issue of starting the impeachment inquiry to appease the right. I certainly think that was true, but I think all the delays were to appease the people from purple districts. I think they would have started it long ago. Otherwise. And I should say that we're now, as just taking a step back and looking at it as an American and without a particular partisan lens, we're now in an era where it seems like every president is subject to an impeachment hearing. And this is not something that happened in the past. They were very rare. And now we're moving into an age where it seems like everybody is being subject to this, every president. And I actually think that Biden has a serious problem here. But I think his other really serious problem is that it's becoming clear to people who are looking at him that he hasn't just lost a step. He's really having cognitive difficulties, to put it in a sort of oblique way. The report this week was that he spoke to donors at a private event, and there was a White House pool reporter there. And that pool reporter said that Biden told a story, and then a few minutes later, using almost the exact words, told the same story again. Now, if your dad did that, Brittany, or if my kids found me doing that, they would sit down and have a serious conversation about what the problems were. And I think Americans are kind of getting closer to having that conversation.